History is one of the most powerful tools in storytelling. It can entertain, educate, and inspire. And when it's all done, well, it sticks with you long after the credits roll. This list contains my personal top 7 historical TV shows. Shows that really just stayed with me and made me care about the characters and the stories. I am ranking them not just by quality but by impact. They all have something special, whether it's unforgettable characters, rich period detail, emotional depth, or just that one perfect scene that refuses to leave my mind. So, whether into ancient battles, political intrigue, or muddy warfare, I hope this list offers a few shows you really do love, and maybe some you've not heard of and want to check out. So let's dive straight in. Shogun is a very recent entry, but one that left a very big impression on me. It wasn't just an adaptation or a remake, it was a reinvention, and a powerful one. And certainly when I heard they were doing a remake, I initially was hesitant, as I'm sure most people would agree. In this modern era, remakes of shows generally get bastardized into deformed abominations of the original source material. I mean, I could probably name you dozens of remakes of shows that studios have decided to go into different directions or make it for the world we live in today, forgetting that what makes certain shows and novels from the past was that it was real. Life wasn't equal back then, so why make it so? When it comes to the show itself, well, I have a great personal fascination with Japanese history, so when this show was all said and done, I must admit to being pleasantly surprised at the quality and the respect it showed the time period and previous source material. The show itself was based on the 1975 novel by James Clavell, which was then turned into a 1980 miniseries starring Richard Chamberlain. Now, I do remember being a rather wee lad watching the VHS version of this with my dad. It was certainly a hell of an introduction to Japanese history. And whilst watching the show, what stood out to me immediately was the visual storytelling. Every frame is cinematic, every scene dripping with atmosphere. It is gorgeously shot, but more importantly, it uses that beauty to communicate power, fear, and tension. The characters are masterfully drawn. Lord Toranaga in particular is magnetic presence, a man of stillness and calculation, but underneath an iron will. He plays the long game, with masterful patience, and watching him manoeuvre through a dangerous political web is like watching a chess grandmaster at work. He's not warm, but he's never less than fascinating. John Blackthorne starts out as brash and ignorant, the classic outsider, but what's powerful is how he evolves. He doesn't just learn the culture, he transformed by it. You feel his respect for the Japanese world deepen, and his identity fracture. He becomes a man caught between two worlds, which is quietly heartbreaking by the end. We also have Lady Mariko, played by Anna Sawai, and for me, she might just be the heart of the soul. A woman caught between duty and faith, her inner strength is profound, and the performance is so restrained and powerful that when her story comes to its conclusion, it makes you feel so gutted. She's the kind of character that really does linger in the mind. Historically, it's more than just accurate, it feels authentic. The series respects the complexity of feudal Japan, and it doesn't dumb down things for Western audiences. You have to pay attention. That might turn some people off, but for me, it made the story feel earned. It doesn't just hand you the culture, it invites you to experience it. It is also not afraid to show you what life was like during that time period, with the boiling cauldrons, the cannon fire, the beheadings and torture. These weren't shown to shock, but to show that the period was not pleasant. It was brutal, cruel, but unapologetically real. And Shogun didn't just tell a historical story, it transports you. It reminded me how thrilling it was when television aims high and hits the mark, and this is proven by all the accolades and positive feedback the show gained. And though it's only one season so far, it's a complete, rich experience. A slow burn epic that rewards patience. And this is prestige historical drama done right, hence why it's on my list. Now, who doesn't like a good pirate show? And Black Sail certainly hits the mark. When I first started watching, I expected swashbuckling fun, maybe some rum-soaked antics. What I didn't expect was a Shakespearean tragedy. political manoeuvring, and existential monologues. And Black Sails is technically a prequel to Treasure Island, but that's almost irrelevant. What it is actually is a gritty, brutal, smart exploration of colonial power, freedom, sexuality, and myth-making. Just a lot of things, basically. And Captain Flint is the spine of the show. He's not the pirate you remember from childhood tales. He's complicated, tormented, and at times terrifying. A man consumed by vision and rage, driven by pain and idealism. And as the layers peel back, you really do understand him, even when you fear for him. And Toby Stephens blends his performance with just the right balance, and not leaning into a caricature. We also have other characters like Long John Silver, who evolves from a charming, self-serving rogue into a leader. His transformation is one of the most satisfying slow burns in the series. The chemistry, the rivalry between him and Flint is electric. But the show doesn't stop there. Eleanor Guthrie, Max, Sam Bonney, Jack Rackham, the ensemble is incredibly strong. They're essential voices in a world where survival depends on shifting allegiances and hard choices. Their relationships are messy, layered, and often very tragic, and the show isn't afraid to explore it in ways that feel bold and grounded. And visually, Black Sails is stunning. The ships feel real, the sea battles are tense and well choreographed, the island of Nassau feels like a melting pot of desperation and opportunity, and Bear McCreary's score for the intro gets you really into the moment. It's all pounding drums and eerie strings, and it gives the whole show a mythic atmosphere. You almost feel like you just want to go out and raid some islands. But what makes it worthwhile is not just about the pirates, it's about an end of an era in a way. The stories, and who gets to be remembered as hero or villains. It's about defiance, and what it costs, and about building something bigger than yourself. And what happens when it all falls apart. It is certainly one of those shows that always felt very underrated. Got mixed reviews and low audience scores to begin with, but as time went on, it gained that respect it deserved. And honestly, I just really enjoyed the show, especially as it had the late great Ray Stevenson as Blackbeard in it, and anything that man is in is just gold. The Hornblower series holds a special place in my list of favourite TV shows for several reasons, not just because of its quality of storytelling, but because how it masterfully combines history, character drama, and cinematic ambition into something generally stirring. Adapted from C.S. Forester's beloved novels, the show follows the rise of Horatio Hornblower to the ranks of the Royal Navy during the Napoleonic Wars. It manages to be both gripping and emotionally rich, offering viewers a sense of period authenticity without ever sacrificing drama or humanity. And what makes the show so special for me is its scope and execution. The series doesn't merely dabble in historical fiction, it does immerse you in it. The attention to naval procedure, 18th century discipline, class divisions aboard the ship, and the broader political stakes of the wars all feel deeply researched and organically woven into the plot. But it's not all about the action, and at its core, Hornblower is a character study. Ian Griffiths delivers a fantastic performance as Hornblower, portraying a man torn between intellect and duty, courage and fear, and honour and pragmatism. And across those 8 episodes, you witness his transformation from an uncertain midshipman into a confident, moral, and at times conflicted commander. His internal battles are just as compelling as the physical ones. Hornblower is proud, yet self-doubting, fiercely loyal, yet deeply introspective. He grows with every episode, not just in rank, but in emotional complexity. The supporting characters are equally strong. Robert Lindsay's Captain Pellew is a pillar of the series, wise, stern, and compassionate in equal measure. He serves as the mentor and moral compass, never overshadowing Hornblower, but enriching every scene he's in. Jamie Bamber's Archie Kennedy, who is a tragic and honourable figure, adds emotional resonance and reminds us of the cost of naval life. Paul McGann's Lieutenant Bush brings steady reliability and friendship, forming a quiet but crucial bond with Hornblower. Even antagonists like Captain Sawyer are painted with nuance, revealing the fine line between madness and command. Story-wise, Hornblower manages to shift between tense shipboard drama, political intrigue, mutiny trials, espionage, and large-scale battles, all while maintaining strong pacing and purpose. Episodes like Mutiny and Retribution showcase brilliant tension and courtroom drama, The Even Chance and the Duchess and the Devil dive into personal honour and survival, and Loyalty and Duty, the final episodes, provide an emotional, fitting close to Hornblower's arc, reflecting on the burdens of leadership and the sacrifices made in service. The series' filmmaking deserves praise too. The cinematography, practical ship sets, rich costuming, and a string of orchestral scores elevate every scene. And for a television production, the scale feels cinematic. And there's a real moral ambiguity in the decisions these characters make, which add lasting impact to the victories and defeats. It's a shame to me that they didn't continue making this series. I did read that Ian Griffith tried to buy the rights to the show to make more, so whether we will get any more I very much doubt now, but who knows in this modern era of TV. In any case, Hornblower is a brilliant blend of historical adventure and intimate character work. It's smart, emotional, and respectful of both its audience and its setting. It scratches the itch for great historical drama, but it also leaves you thinking about what kind of a leader you want to be in times of war. Now, The Last Kingdom, a show that made me never forget the whereabouts of Bebbanburg, is something special. Based on the Saxon stories by Bernard Cornwell, which, for full disclosure, I haven't read. It's a rare blend of gritty historical drama, intrigue, and character-driven storytelling. And for what it's worth, even just judging from a filmmaking and historical point of view, it delivers on both fronts remarkably well. At the centre of it all is Uhtred, son of Uhtred, a Saxon noble stolen and raised by Danes. He grows up as a man caught between two worlds. That tension, not quite Saxon, not quite Dane, that drives much of the emotional power of the story. He's a man with no home, no firm allegiance, and yet he fights like he owns the land. Alexander Draymond absolutely owns the role. He brings a perfect blend of charisma, arrogance, humour, and hidden vulnerability. He can swagger into a room and charm a crowd in 1 minute, then drop into a brooding monologue the next, and it never feels forced. Uhtred might be reckless, hot-headed, and occasionally insufferable, but you never stop rooting for him. The show itself evolves masterfully. It starts off small, focuses on survival, family feuds, and local skirmishes, but it builds into an epic saga of kingdoms rising and falling, of loyalties tested, and of one man's relentless fight to reclaim his birthright. The tone matures with the characters, and by the time the show's end, the scale is grand, the stakes are real, and the emotional payoff is well earned. And the battles were quite top tier for me. The show understands combat. It's gritty, muddy, chaotic and personal. Shield walls crash like thunder, the axe flying around, and no one comes out unscathed. Well, this show doesn't shy away from the brutality of early warfare, but it never becomes gratuitous. When it does, it matters. The supporting cast is a real strength too. Father Bjorka, wise and compassionate, is the heart of the early season. Breda's arc is complex and sometimes painful to watch. Alfred, as we know, is a man wrapped in so much historical mythos, and he is portrayed so well. And a personal favourite of mine is Adrian Bauer as Leofrich, mainly just because he always calls Uhtred Arsling, which is rather entertaining if you ask me. Ealhswith, Edward, Hilda, Ethelred, all of these and more are characters that aren't wasted. They all evolve, age, make mistakes, and carry scars just like Uhtred. Now, yes, of course the show takes historical liberties, but it captures the mood and the atmosphere of England during that era. The muddy villages, the tension between Christianity and paganism, the fragility of power, and the weight of legacy. It's more than just costumes and battle scenes, it's a portrait of a country being forged in blood and belief. Now, it's not flawless. The pacing dips now and again, especially in the later seasons, and some characters exit too quickly, others too long. But even when the show stumbles, it never loses sight of that journey, of Uhtred's struggle to belong, to protect his people, and to reclaim his home, Bebbanburg. Now, this show may seem like it comes from a little bit of the left field, but let me tell you there is no show quite like Three Kingdoms. Now, for full transparency, I have read Romance of the Three Kingdoms. I have poured hundreds of hours into Three Kingdoms Total War and Dynasty Warriors. So when I was on YouTube many years ago, just researching the time period, and then just finding this show, I was incredibly taken aback, because it's not just a series, it's an odyssey. 95 episodes of grand historical drama, tangled loyalties, philosophical musings, and battle cries that echo throughout Chinese history. This series tackles the monumental tale of the collapse of the Han dynasty and the fracturing of China into three warring states. The story is mythic in scale, but deeply human in execution. Ambition, duty, honour, strategy and betrayal, it's all here, playing out like a 3rd century Shakespearean epic. And the characters are giants, literally and spiritually. Cao Cao is a standout, brilliant, ruthless, and terrifyingly human. He's no cartoon villain, he's the future in motion, unafraid of dirty hands, if that means order. In fact, Cao Cao, as a historical figure, is one of, if not my favourite, just because he has so many quotable phrases such as Liu Bei is his opposite, noble, idealistic, and utterly tragic in how often those ideals cost him everything. Zhu Liang, the master strategist, hovers above it all. In fact, every single character adds something to the series. Guan Yu, Zhang Fei, the loyal brothers of Liu Bei. Lu Bu, Dong Zhuo, early season protagonists, continuing with other characters like Daishan, Sun Shen, Sun Ce, just so many to name, but all just add so much. Their relationships and rivalries are layered, philosophical, and often heartbreaking. But it's not all generals and war councils. The show understands the quiet moments, the melancholy of aging heroes, the loneliness of leadership, and the futility of power built on shifting sands. There's a poetic sadness that permeates the entire series. It's a tale of not just conquest, but of inevitability, of great men who try to defy their fate, and pay for it. Visually, the production is staggering. The scale is massive, sweeping battlefields, ornate palaces, intimate strategy chambers, but what elevates it isn't just the scope, but the detail. The costumes, dialogue, staging, everything serves the characters and the moments. The writing is dense, but in a very good way. The whole episodes can pass with nothing but negotiation, planning, and poetic speeches, and it's all riveting. This show assumes that you're paying attention and rewards you when you do. Now, of course it takes liberties, this isn't a documentary, but the spirit of the romance is mytho-history by design. It's less about precise fact and more about the truths beneath it, and it captures that spirit faithfully. Is it a commitment to watch? Yes, but I would argue so is reading War and Peace, or even going to the gym, but it's worth it. And Three Kingdoms delivers greatness in spades, as well as teaching us valuable lessons, such as, when you are facing off against your enemy, don't let them parley with you over tea. Rome was ahead of its time. Long before Game of Thrones, Vikings, or The Last Kingdom, it redefined what historical drama could be. It came storming through the gates with blood, politics, lust, and some of the best character work television has ever seen. And for 2 seasons, 2 all brief seasons, it was absolutely glorious. Yes, it delivers the spectacle. This was one of the most expensive TV shows ever made at the time, and it shows. The sets feel like living, breathing parts of ancient Rome. The crowded markets, the towering senate halls, the lavish villas. The battle scenes are visceral. The parties are decadent, and the politics is razor sharp. But what makes Rome truly great isn't just its ambition, it's the heart beating underneath the carnage. And that heart belongs to Lucius Vorenus and Titus Pullo, 2 fictional legionnaires caught up in the chaos of Rome's transition from republic to empire. Their friendship is the soul of the series, and Kevin McKidd and Ray Stevenson are magic together. Vorenus, the brooding, honour-bound traditionalist, and Pullo, the blunt-force hammer with surprising moments of vulnerability and loyalty. And through them, we see how the grand movements of history tear through ordinary lives. And around them, real historical events unfold, and unfold brilliantly. Caesar's rise and assassination, Mark Antony's spiral into excess, Cleopatra's manipulation and charm, and Octavian's cold, methodical climb to power. These characters aren't just historical names and togas, they live. Kieran Hines gives us a Caesar who's noble, terrifying, and human. Similar with James Purefoy. He's magnetic, sensual, violent, and tragically flawed as Mark Antony. And what I love most is the almost Shakespearean nature of the show. Most of the cast were stage trained, therefore perform in a theatrical manner that is very rare in this modern era. Is it perfectly accurate? No, of course not, but it captures truth rather than textbook fact. The moral ambiguity, the shifting alliances, the fragility of order. The show understands the nature of empire better than most shows even attempt. It gives us not just the grand nature of how Rome was, but the people underneath the thumb of those in power. The plebs that live and die at the whim of their masters. And when Rome gets dark, it gets really dark. This is a show unafraid to let characters suffer, to lose, to betray and be betrayed. But it also has moments of humour, love and beauty. There's poetry buried beneath the politics, and tragedy in every victory. So for me, Rome made history feel alive. It told an epic story without ever losing the human core. And because no matter how much television has evolved since, there's still nothing quite like it. There's only one show I keep coming back to, and that's Sharpe. It's rough, it's dusty, it's often stitched together on a shoestring budget, and is utterly unforgettable. This is a series that knows exactly what it is, and wears it with a battered green jacket with pride. Long before historical dramas became high-budget prestige affairs, Sharpe was out there, calling everyone bastards. My first experience with Sean Bean's Richard Sharpe was when I was very little. It was another show I would watch with my grandfather and father on VHS. And now, to be fair, I had very little idea what I was watching back then, as I was more interested in dinosaurs fighting Transformers. But it created a legacy that enables people like me to make videos on the characters, storylines, and, if I'm ever called up to war, which looks more likely day by day, how to fire 3 rounds a minute. And that's what sets Sharpe apart. It's a war story, yes, but it's also a character study. Sharpe is all jagged edges, brave, reckless, loyal, and far from perfect. He's not your typical clean-cut hero. He makes brutal choices, he loses friends, he gets battered and betrayed, and yet you follow him because he feels authentic. And authenticity is king. He is a man shaped by hardship and driven to succeed in a world that looks down on the common soldiery. And that's where the show's heart truly lies, in the brotherhood of common cause. The chosen men, Harper, Hagman, Harris, Perkins, each one rough around the edges, but each full of life. And there's a sense of camaraderie and trust that elevates the series beyond just the battles. These aren't just nameless extras, they're family. When they're hurt, captured or killed, it hurts us. You feel it because the show takes the time to let these characters breathe and develop. And then there are the villains. Sharpe gives us some of the best, or worst should I say, in television history. Obadiah Hageswell is pure, sneering nightmare fuel. His malicious grin alone is enough to make your blood boil. And there are men like Sir Henry Simerson, Major Duco, Colonel Brand, each representing a different shade of corruption, cruelty or betrayal. They enhance the stories we watch, and we enjoy Sharpe, giving them a good old piece of justice. And I think it's safe to say the production values were never blockbuster level, and that's fine. The grit adds texture, it looks lived in. The battle scenes, while modest, are staged with intelligence and tension. You don't need thousands of extras when the emotional stakes are this personal, and while it takes its fair share of historical liberties, Sharpe remains a love letter to Bernard Cornwell's novels, and to the forgotten foot soldiers of the Napoleonic Wars. It doesn't worship history from a distance, it plunges you in it, with all the smells, sweat, and savagery intact. You learn about siege warfare, about Wellington's discipline, about brutal, often thankless grind of campaign life, but more importantly you feel it, not through lectures, but through the experience of Sharpe and his men. And Sean Bean's performance ties it all together. He plays Sharpe not as a flawless hero, but as a man constantly torn between what he wants to do and what he has to do. There's fire in his eyes, but also wariness. Every scar tells a story. Every promotion is earned with blood. His journey from the ranks to the upper echelons of a world that never wanted him is one of the most satisfying and inspiring in television. It's not just a show, it's a part of why I love history. It's what first pulled me into the Napoleonic era. It's what made me see the past not just as a list of kings, battles and dates, but as stories of ordinary men and women doing extraordinary things. It's messy, it's imperfect, and it's absolutely full of life. It speaks to something real, about class, honour and perseverance, and the idea that even though it's brutal of times, loyalty and courage still means something. And let's be honest, if you ever wanted a leader who was as brutal as he was brilliant, angry as he was caring, and just a hard bastard, then you would follow Richard Sharpe to the very ends of the earth. It's rough, it's real, it's got more heart than half the TV shows out there today, and it'll always be number one in my book. So there you have it, my favourite historical TV shows. Did any of these make your personal lists? Let me know in the comments your thoughts about these shows, and maybe if there's some other ones I might want to watch. Thanks for watching, and please do like, share and subscribe to help the channel grow. We are so close now to 3,500 subscribers, and I'd be incredibly grateful if you could help me get there. Thanks again, and I'll see you over the hills and far away.